Yo guys, welcome back. I am in my car. Yeah, I'm by this apartment complex right over here. I just did a Uber Eats order. I delivered Starbucks to someone's house. Or not house, apartment. And yeah, I took the elevator and gave it to my customer. And my first order I did, because I just did my second order. This was my second order I just did. My first one was also a Starbucks delivery, but it was in my neighborhood for $8. Like, I absolutely love those orders where, you know, it's in my neighborhood and you deliver it. Like, and the drop off is also in my neighborhood. Like, I love those orders so much. You barely have to drive. You don't have to go anywhere. It only takes like 5 minutes. I leave my house, I pick up food, and the drop off is right in my neighborhood, and it's just so quick and easy. I love those orders. Like, I even delivered shawarma recently for $11, and it was right in my neighborhood. I barely had to drive. Like, those orders are awesome. You know, the drop off was like 2 minutes away from my house. But yeah, this drop off is far away from my house, kind of. Well, it's not really far away, it's just kind of far away. It's somewhat close, but you get the point. It's still a drive. It took me like 8 minutes to get here, or maybe 10 minutes, I don't know. But this order was not bad. It's still pretty close, good money. But anyways, guys, so I'm just gonna head back home, and as I head back home, I'm going to get into the topic of this video. So yeah, I'm just set up my camera. Now, I want to talk about prison in this video, Hold on. I'm just gonna make sure there's no cars. Okay, yeah, I'm good. Man, I'm not really feeling that good today. I have like a really runny nose. And it's kind of like this burning feeling in my nose. I don't know. I don't know if I'm coming down with like a cold. I don't know. I hope not. Maybe it'll go away later. I don't know. Usually it does. Before it becomes a cold, it goes away. But yeah, as I was saying, guys, so yeah, this video is gonna be about prison, and like, I just can't believe, like, what it's like to even be in prison. Like, prison must really suck, because I personally, I find it insane. I find it absolutely insane that there's people right now in this world who are in prison for the rest of their life. They're never getting out. I can't believe there's literally people right now on this earth who are, they're just gonna be there forever. Like, I find that to be really crazy. Usually for the, like, really serious crimes like murder. But yeah, it's insane. It's really insane that people, they choose that path in life where they might, like, kill someone, maybe, on purpose, intentionally. And yeah, now they're just locked up for the rest of their life. I mean, it depends what country you're in, because not all countries have life without parole. Like Australia, for example, or like even countries in Europe or Canada, they typically, even for murder, you're not going to be in prison for the rest of your life. You might be like in prison for 25 years or 18 years, but you will get out. But some countries you might be on parole for the rest of your life, so you'll be supervised your entire remainder of your life, and you have to check in with a parole officer. But at least you're not going to be in prison. But in the United States, they have life without parole. So for murder, intentional murder, you'll be, mostly in prison for the rest of your life. I guess it also depends on the whole situation, what happened. But yeah, it's insane. Like, I find prison to be terrifying, because prison is literally a whole different world. Like, someone has said that before. And yeah, like, I completely agree. Prison is a whole different world. Because when you're in prison, it's like very, very different compared to like society, being a part of society. You know, you're isolated from the entire world. That's what really scares me about prison. Like, if you're in prison, you're basically isolated from the entire world, you know? You don't know what's happening around the world. I mean, you can still look at the news or whatever, watch the news in prison, but, you know, you don't experience the outside world anymore. I find it to be really terrifying. Like, when you're in prison, I would say like 95% of your freedom is completely taken away from you. And it doesn't just mean like not being in prison. Like, so many hobbies, interests, stuff you enjoy doing is completely taken away from you in prison. It's not just about not being in prison. Like, for example, if you enjoy drinking alcohol, or you enjoy smoking weed, as an example, well, that stuff is completely taken away from you in prison. Like, you don't have the opportunity or chance to do that, because prisons will ban stuff like that. Or if you like smoking cigarettes, same thing. Like, most prisons don't allow prisoners to smoke. Maybe some do, but a lot of, like, prisons, they wouldn't allow that. Or, you know, what if you like certain energy drinks, right? Well, you're not going to be able to drink them in prison. I don't know. It is possible to have an energy drink in prison if you purchase it at, like, a commissary. But what if you like a certain one? They're not going to have it, you know? That's the point. Prison is not just about, you know, not being outside of prison and your freedom taken away from you. It's even things you enjoy doing, or a relationship, you know? You can't be with a certain person, you know? Like, you can't find a girlfriend because you're locked up, you know? You can't even hug your family. You can't even see your friends. Well, they can visit you in prison. Yeah, you can make friends in prison, but, you know, or for example, I like taking walks at night in my neighborhood. I love doing that. Prison, you can never do something like that. That's what sucks. You are allowed to technically go outside in prison, but you're surrounded by prison walls. It's only like 1 hour a day usually, and you can't even go outside at night in prison, you know? You have to always obey their rules. You have to go to bed when they tell you to go to bed. Like, prison is so horrible, you know? You can't even play certain video games. Yes, it is actually possible to play video games in prison. Usually on like a really shitty old console, like a PlayStation 1. But yeah. But you can't play certain video games. You can't, like, do things you like. What else? Even like sports. Yeah, maybe you can play basketball in prison. I don't know. I think you can. But if you like hockey, like ice hockey, you can never do that because you're in prison. If you like swimming, you know, you're not going to be able to do that. So prison just, no wonder people become like insane when they're in prison, and why they become isolated. Because even your hobbies are taken away from you. It's not just about your freedom, it's also your hobbies, what you like doing, what you like eating, activities, you know. What if you like bowling? You can't ever do that in prison. Like, prison sucks. All you can really do is, like, maybe you can play, like, you know, cards. You could play, like, chess. You could, like, sometimes watch TV. Sometimes play video games, read books. I don't know. That's about all you can do in prison. It's horrible. Prison is so fucking depressing, you know? Like, I'm terrified of the idea of me being locked up. I mean, I would never do anything to get myself in that situation, but you know, prison is just so terrifying, you know. Like, okay, if you're in prison for like a week, if you're in prison for a month, if you're in prison for maybe a couple of months, sure, it really sucks, but that's not that horrible because you'll still get out eventually. It's not going to take like that long. Months can, you know, months will fly by. I mean, it might feel like an eternity in prison because it's really boring there. But the point is, if you go to jail, you know, and usually jail, it's like for not really serious crimes, you know. Prison is like if you actually did something really bad a lot of times. But yeah, if you go to jail for like a few months, it's not like that bad because you'll still get out. 1 year is pretty horrible too. I mean, 1 year is not that bad, but it's still a while. But people often say that even if they're in prison for like 2 months, like, or I'm sorry, not 2 months, 2 years. If someone's in prison for 2 years, they don't really become like institutionalized, you know. They don't like, even if they're locked up for 2 years, they often say that by the time 2 years passes, it's not really enough for them to truly get used to the prison life, the prison environment. Because 2 years, I guess, is not that much. But if you're actually locked up for like 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, then yeah, you'll get used to prison life. And then reintegrating back into society can be really challenging. You know, because when you're locked up in prison for many years of your life, by the time you get out, you know, the world will be different and it'll be really hard to adapt to modern day life. It's terrifying. Like 2 years is probably not going to make much of a difference, but like 10 years, 20 years is just insane. Now, I've actually went on a like prison field trip one time. Back when I was in college, we actually went to this like correctional facility or whatever. It was some institution, correctional institution. And yeah, I actually went on a field trip, so I actually got to see what it's like to be in a real prison. And it looked really brutal, you know, it looked really bad. And yeah. And yeah, and you know, obviously the prison guards, they had to search me. They had to like, kind of like pat me down, check my pockets. You know, it's their policy because if you go on a prison field trip, you're not allowed to bring your phone. You're not allowed to like even bring your wallet, which makes sense because they don't want you to give anything to the inmates, you know. Like what if you're smuggling like drugs or whatever? Or like giving them like a weapon. So that makes sense. That completely makes sense. They have to search you. You're not allowed to bring almost anything at all if you're visiting prison as like on a field trip or whatever. But yeah, guys, I guess that's all I had to say. I'm just about to be home now. So thank you guys for watching. So yeah, prison sucks. It's just one of the worst places in the world. I just find the idea to be like locked up in prison for the rest of your life to be terrifying. I'd rather get the death penalty than spend the rest of my life locked up. Like, what's the point, you know? I'd rather just die. But here in my country, we don't have the death penalty because I'm from Canada. But yeah, so thank you guys for watching. Take care. Have a good one. And yeah, bye.